Now welcome to another lightning response video, where this time we got a couple questions that are somewhat related to each other, and the first one comes to us from the Traveler, who asked, "Hey Thor, I have a totally out-of-universe support for why a new galaxy. First, let me say, I agree with you that there is so much Legends canon that can be explored, and here is my argument. With the fanbase so heavily divided between Disney canon and Legends, the choice of using a new galaxy has a big benefit, one that makes Filoni look even more like he cares. Going to a new galaxy allows him to tell his story without stepping on loved and cherished stories from the EU. What do you think? Possible theory?" And I do think you're probably, or almost certainly, on the right track here. I don't think Filoni goes to a whole other galaxy lightly, if you will. I don't think he brings that in, not that it wasn't done in the EU too. But I don't think he brings that in and just gives us a new planet with it, and some type of power calling to Balin, without there being more plans for it. That would just seem like, well, a big waste, you could say. Because if there isn't more to explore with it, why make it another galaxy in the first place? Why not just make this a planet in the original Star Wars galaxy that was just very, very difficult to get to, and have the power be locked away somehow, some way along with this planet, or something along those lines? I mean, we don't yet know what this power even is, the one that's calling out to Balin, and that might have something to do with the beginning he's talked about, and these old Jedi stories, and if they're true or not. So it's hard to know how well it works coming from just one planet in the Star Wars galaxy instead of a whole different galaxy. But even still, it's not like whatever story Filoni has cooked up couldn't have been adjusted. That whatever this power is couldn't have also made sense coming from the original galaxy. And again, avoided bringing in a new galaxy and opening up all these questions that inevitably come with a brand new galaxy. Questions that, yeah, I do think get answered in time because there has to be a plan for all this, right? This isn't something he'd just do without thinking of the ramifications and the curiosity of the fans that would come along with it. We're still not doing things at Lucasfilm without any sort of a plan, right? Filoni has this covered, right? Anyway, yes, I do think we'll get some answers at the very least. I have confidence that Filoni would not just put a new galaxy into Star Wars and not explore it at all, or very minimally. And maybe we don't get the entire story of this new galaxy in the Ahsoka series. Obviously, we're not going to get the entire story of it here. But I think we will get more of it in future content. And I do think we get a decent chunk here in the Ahsoka series to, of course, make us interested in that future content that will involve it. I don't think there's any way this is a one and done type thing. And it could even be we'll get something as big with it as the eventual Filoni movie being set in the other galaxy. That maybe Ahsoka and Thrawn and Ezra and Sabine, they don't make it back like we expect them to, and somehow Din Djarin, Grogu, and Boba Fett and a few others end up there too. I mean, Grogu did sense the Purrgil in that one episode of The Mandalorian. Maybe that was a setup for him eventually traveling to the other galaxy. But assuming that doesn't happen and they do make it home, which I do think they will, it could be that after the third phase of the ongoing High Republic era, which is supposed to be the final phase, that we'll have a whole new publishing effort that takes place in this other galaxy, and as the Traveler basically suggested in his comment, you can more or less do whatever the hell you want with it then. It doesn't have to fit neatly between the lines. It doesn't have to fit between all the lore that has already been established in this galaxy, and you're not going to anger anyone by undoing any EU lore either. Though that said, will fans really go for all this? Will they want stories in another galaxy that have little or nothing to do with the main one? Wouldn't they perhaps prefer a sort of re-canonizing of the Old Republic, and Disney and Lucasfilm going all in on that time period instead? Assuming, of course, they get it right, which, yes, that's a pretty big assumption. Either way, again, I do think there's more coming from this other galaxy. I don't think it's just going to be a one and done thing. I cannot see Filoni just introducing one planet and never going back to it. I do think he may be using it as a way to gain some freedom as well, to tell whatever kind of story he wants, one that perhaps circumvents the sequel trilogy to a degree, and then answers the question of why no one talks about this big event that we're about to see in his movie, why no one talks about it in either the sequels or anywhere in that time period. And that's because it takes place in a whole other galaxy, and most people will never know it happened. Something like this could even answer another question, like where are Han, Luke, and Leia during all of this? Why are they not in the Filoni Mandoverse movie? Why aren't they going to step up and help stop Thrawn, like they have before or had in the EU? Well, it could be to get around that, to get around having to use the big characters. It'll instead be Ahsoka in another galaxy being the main character and saving the day. Which then brings us to this question from Antelope Don, who said, "Hey Thor, is Ahsoka really needed for the Ahsoka show? The reality is Ahsoka did not really fit in Rebels either. She's a character that was interesting and significant during the time period of the Clone Wars as a Padawan of Anakin, but should have faded into history with his fall to the dark side. Instead, the Filoniverse has recast the Star Wars universe around Ahsoka. Nothing happens without her now. Lucas told a story about the Skywalker family, Filoni is telling a story about Ahsoka Tano. The entire show could be retold without her specific involvement. Just substitute any prequel-era Jedi and the story holds, obviously except the Anakin world between worlds. Shoehorning an off-screen Sabine-Ahsoka relationship into the post-Rebels period does not create an emotional attachment. It is nice to see Baylan and Shin slowly divulge their history and relationship. It is just sad they are countered by the manufactured and synthetic Ahsoka-Sabine relationship. Still enjoying the show, but having a hard time placing it in the greater Star Wars universe. Thanks for all your great content. And yeah, I too have been enjoying the Ahsoka series by and large, but I do agree with you that the Sabine-Ahsoka relationship seems almost forced, no pun intended, or manufactured as a way to be able to include Ahsoka in what has, by and large, outside of the world between worlds stuff with her and Anakin. But it's really been the story of Sabine looking for Ezra. This is the direct continuation of Rebels in everything but name. This is Rebels Season 5 with Ahsoka in it. Mainly it feels like to be able to call it the Ahsoka series. And look, that's not to say I've hated Ahsoka being in this, or that I don't think with 2 episodes left to go at the time of recording this, that by the end it won't make more sense that she's been in this. Certainly she is going to play a huge role in the finale. She is going to impact if Thrawn gets back home or not. And along with that, along with her importance here, I also can't help but feel like she is going to kind of become the main character of the Filoniverse going forward, if she hasn't kind of already. That she's going to be the glue that will keep it all or bring it all together in a way. That she'll be a sort of focal point or a fulcrum. Which means it's then not impossible, as I was kind of joking before, that in the upcoming Filoni movie she could essentially be the main character and kind of fill the roles of, well, Luke, Han, Leia, and all the others. Especially if it is in another galaxy. I mean, personally, I still think we'll see the original trilogy characters in that upcoming Filoni movie, and that they may even be kind of featured. I think they're going to be used to help sell it. I don't know, especially with the recent Disney Plus numbers, the ratings as of late for all these shows kind of going down. I don't think Disney will have enough confidence in them, in the Filoniverse characters, to sell an entire movie, that they'll want to bring in some AI original trilogy characters. But either way, I still think Filoni will make sure Ahsoka is prominent in the movie. I'd be stunned if she isn't. Because yeah, he does seem to have an attachment when it comes to her. He does seem to love his own character a bit too much and is trying to make her extremely important to the greater story, which I don't necessarily have a problem with. I do think we need other characters besides the Skywalkers to have stories revolve around, especially for the long-term health of the franchise. But the thing is, Ahsoka's story revolves around Anakin. It is still attached to the Skywalker saga in a very big way, even if after episode 5 of this series she has kind of broken away from him, if she has dealt with all that past trauma. She is always going to be the Padawan of Anakin Skywalker. She's always going to be a key part of that story. But anyway, my point is that I think we should expect the Filoni movie to be the Ahsoka movie. I think she will have a huge part to play in it one way or another. And maybe, and almost hopefully, and I say this again as a big fan of Ahsoka, I do love the character, but hopefully it is her swan song. Hopefully this will be the end of the character, and she gets a good fitting end to go along with what has been a hell of a journey so far. Well, that's all I got for you this time. Now it's your turn to take to the comments below and tell me what you think about any of this. Is Filoni bringing in a new galaxy to allow him to have more freedom? And is he bringing Ahsoka to that galaxy to make her the star of his movie? Either that, or you can always ask a question for a future lightning response video. Just start your comment off of Hey Thor and ask away. Whatever you choose to do, leave a comment below and let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.